Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to watch this One Book Belgrade Adult Crafternoon walkthrough of painting a royal wolf fly with Wendy Marquis art. This series, the One Book Belgrade series, is proudly brought to you by the Belgrade Community Library and sponsored by Kenyon Noble Lumber and Hardware. This event also features the generous sponsorship by Montana Reclaimed Lumber, who provided the beautiful wood panels that the live participants used as the canvas. My name is Sarah Creech, and I am the Adult Services Librarian at the Belgrade Community Library. The recording you're about to watch was made over the period of a few days. I'm actually recording from my home after the live events have all concluded. After this introduction, Wendy will take you through some basics of painting, preparation of your canvas, and drawing out the royal wolf on your board or your canvas. After that, it will go into pre-recorded videos by Wendy, with me jumping in to remind you to pause the video and work on the previous section for as long as you want. Please take your time and don't feel the need to keep up with Wendy. She sometimes recommends watching the entire video throughout before starting. If you want to try that, you're welcome to. Wendy welcomes your questions and photos of your work to her email, which is paint@wendymarquis.com. And her studio is currently open as of March 2021, Wednesday through Saturday, noon to 6 p.m. And you can confirm her hours on her website, wendymarquis.com. Now a little about Wendy before I start going through the videos. She was born into an artistic family in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and grew up exposed to the works of great masters in her home and at her mother's gallery. She progressed to the School of the Museum of Fine Arts in Boston and graduated with a BFA from the University of Arizona. Since 2006, after moving to Montana with her husband, 2 daughters, and assorted dogs, Wendy has grown into a prolific artist, creating canvases in oil and teaching art classes. Her studio and gallery is located in the 100-year-old Belgrade Bank building. Now I'll start going through the pre-recorded videos for you to enjoy and follow along. Thanks for participating, and I hope you have a great time painting.
For asking me to do this. It's still a work in progress as far as the technology goes. I threw a wrench at Sarah by telling her that I was videoing these beforehand as kind of an experiment versus doing it live. So it's going to be a combination, and thank you for your patience. So obviously these are 2 examples of what you've got. I'll show you a little close up so you can really see that guy. This is the one that I did first, and then this is the one I did, the recorded one. And you know, they're the same thing, but just different colors, which brings me to the point that this is wide open. This doesn't necessarily have to be a royal wolf. This could be pink and purple, right? Same with the background. So just know that you don't have to make exactly like mine. Just make it pleasing to your own aesthetic. So as far as painting tips, I've written these out. We've written these out for you on the paper, but I'm just going to go over it again because if you're not a painter, you know, this isn't second nature to you like it is for me. So everybody should have these pots of paint, or whatever version you have, Michelle, since you're far away. And you should all have a few brushes that we gave. Everybody probably has different brushes, but basically the idea is you've got large, medium, small. You know, the little one's gonna be for your detail work, like the wings and the tail. And this flat one, we're gonna probably use the most. It's a great tool because it's stiff. So you can use it to do things like the hook, because it stays stiff, or you can use it flat when you want to fill in flat areas that are already like a square, because you get a straight edge. So that's that. And like some tips about caring for your brushes. So acrylic will dry to a hard plastic if you leave your brushes out with paint on them. It's not going to happen overnight. I mean, it's not going to happen in 5 minutes, but you don't want to leave your brushes out for a period of time with paint drying on them. You're not gonna really have time for that to happen today anyway. So you wanna rinse them off between each color change. And you also just don't wanna have a lot of water. When you dip your brush in the water, you don't wanna leave a lot of water on your brush or your paint's gonna drip down and just get messy. I mean, a lot of you probably don't have it vertical like I do, but it's just a good tip. So you'll basically, scoop up some paint and you really won't add water to the paint. Now, another thing is how you mix paint. The best way to use the paint that you have available is when you're mixing colors to take your lightest color. So let's say we're gonna take white and then I wanna make pink. So I'm just gonna take a tiny bit of my stronger color, right? It's pretty logical if you think about it, and start mixing it in to the lighter color. And so now I just have a really pale pink and I can keep grabbing that darker color and putting it in there. And that way you can really control your color mixing. And a lot of times people will just grab, like, let's say you're gonna grab these two colors. You use the whole pile up and then you're frustrated because you don't have the right color. So in that way, you're gonna have more, you'll be able to control your color mixing a lot better. Let's see, do I have any other tips? One thing that I always do is after I'm painting something and like you're looking, you're this close on top of this painting, is to take a break and step back like 5 or 10 feet if you have space, because you're gonna get a more objective view. And that also, you have an advantage right now because you probably aren't gonna get it all done. And maybe you'll come back to it tomorrow and you'll have a whole fresh set of eyes. I do that a lot. Sometimes I put a painting away and then I come back and I can see right what the problem was or how good it looks or whatever. Let's see, and now here's gonna be another little mini painting lesson. I have run out of brown. And so, well, first of all, you guys have yellow, blue, and green. So those are the primary colors. I still have to think about this. So no, yellow, blue, and red. The librarian knows better than I do. So if you run out of any of your colors, you can mix the colors that you need. So you don't have to worry about that. Okay, so being that, so I'm gonna take some red and I'm gonna mix some green into it. And I'm gonna you kind of have to keep trying till you get the brown you like. So I kind of have a little reddish brown. So that's one brown. And then if I wanna warm up the brown, I can add some yellow and I'll get a slightly different brown. So anyway, you have that as a backup plan. Okay, so we're gonna start doing the background. And I'm gonna wipe my brush off. Oh, and it's also a great idea to take your paper towel or your rag, take it in, do it like this, dip it in some water, squeeze it out, and then this will be your eraser if you need to wipe it off. Now, this paint dries really fast and it's gonna get sucked up by this raw wood. So we're gonna have to do layers. And if you do make a mistake along the way or something that you feel that you don't like, you'll be able to, once it's dry, come back from the outside in and cover something up or touch something up. So you don't have to stress about that. Okay, so I'm gonna grab my raw board. And my apologies if you've already done this. We're gonna do it again. So I've made my measurements approximately 2 inches to to the border. I went a little higher here because of where the MRL is. And then, I think I'll bring this closer. Then I took, this is 4 inches. Wait, sorry, first I found my middle. So measure from here to here to find the middle, vertical middle, and just put a little mark in there. And I even used marker so you guys could see it. And so then this is 4 inches and this is 2 inches. And that is where the tail or the butt, whatever that is, that's 4 inches and that's 2 inches. So that's why they're not like even spaced. Does that make sense? Okay. All right, now after I did that, I'm gonna lay some white in. I have the luxury of having a lot of brushes, so I'm gonna use this wider one, but you can use your middle one. So I'm gonna get my brush a tiny bit wet, and I'm just gonna go crazy all over this. And like if you were using, where's that flat one? I will use this flat one, just like I was telling you. I can do it right up to my edge. And it doesn't have to be a perfect straight line because you're gonna go over it with your border. All right, you get the idea there. I don't want to waste time. After I finish this, I'm gonna go blow dry it so we can get through the next step. My sister used to yell at me because I wouldn't color in the lines, but now I am pretty much.
And Wendy, why are you adding the water? What does that do to the paint? Like why?
Yeah, because normally I don't add much water, but because we're going on such a big area, adding water will make it more fluid. And like this board is showing up really white really fast because it's not a raw board like yours is. So when I did the other ones, you know, it sucked it right up and it definitely wasn't bright white. But this is a base coat. You know, it's not gonna stay white. It's just like priming a piece of furniture before you paint it. You know, and then we're gonna be going back over it with colors. Okay, so now I'm gonna wash my brush out and I'm gonna go hit it with a blow dryer. And if it's not totally dry, that's okay. I'll be right back. I'm not gonna dry. Okay, wait, I lost my pencil. Okay, I'm back. Okay, ready? Okay. All right, so now we're gonna draw it out. And just so you can tell, you can see it on your paperwork, this is smaller than this, okay? So this is about 2 fingers, this is about 4 fingers, and then we'll do that part in the middle. So I'm gonna kind of just do a big rectangle here. So for my 2 lines, am I close enough? And then I'm gonna round out my edges. So it's pretty much like a big sausage. And I always do this, like the foundation of every painting I do, there's a drawing based on the inner shapes of whatever I'm doing. And then sometimes I'll lose what I put on there, like that square edge, I just use it kind of as an anchor spot. Okay, and then I'm gonna make the hook. And this hook can be any size you want it to be. And then I'm gonna do, what did I say? Like, I said 2 fingers, but I'm gonna go 3 fingers. And then I'm gonna go 4. And you could just even like mark those spots. Now, I am doing curved lines because this is a round thing. So, like just pretend like these these lines are going around this cylinder. So that's why these lines are curved versus flat. Although you could just do it flat if that's like a little too much for you. So now we know this middle part is narrower. Now I'm going to come back and narrow that off. And then I'm going to just erase that. Seems kind of counterintuitive, but it's just how I do it. Okay, so now we have the basic shape. You're going to be that little nub on the end. And then we'll do the tail feathers and the wing. This is just a fan that comes out and it's going to overlap the hook. So that's just kind of, I'm just going to rough that in. And then I'm going to do the same over here. Now you can see that there's two opposing fans here, and this one starts just a little bit below center. So I'm going to put a dot there, and I'm going to kind of and we're just roughing it in. Basically, you want the middle of these to be taller than the sides. Okay, so I think we're ready, Sarah, right? To stop this part?
Hi, I'm back to remind you to pause the video and catch up with Wendy until you have your drawing and your fly drawn out. Once you have painted your background and drawn your fly out, feel free to use a blow dryer like Wendy did to dry everything. And then when you're ready to move on, press play. Thanks.
Okay, so now we're gonna start painting my favorite part. We're gonna take, and I'm gonna take this brush, or if you have a larger, rounder brush, you can use that one. I'm gonna dip it in a little bit of water and grab some black. Remember, you don't want it too wet. And I'm gonna fill in this area. This brush is really great because you can really get close to your edges, but you can also just use whatever brush you are comfortable with. And this part doesn't have to be perfect because we're gonna go back over the edges. So this is gonna be the first layer, and you'll see how we're gonna go as we progress. I'm going to just go up to the edge of the wings. Okay, and since we already have black on our brush and I have this nice flat brush, I'm going to do my hook. So to make that nice grayish blue of the hook, you're going to grab some white, which I already have on my plate. I'm going to make a gray, and I'm going to take a tiny bit of blue just to give it a little more interest as a color. And I'm going to come right around using the edge of that brush, which gives me a steadier hand. Made it a little bit thick, but I can adjust that later on. And I'm gonna do this little tip as well. Okay, and I'm gonna rinse my brush out. And as I notated in the notes, this center part of the body is narrower. So I'm gonna take pure red. And I didn't even use any water. And I'm gonna go along there. I'm gonna do some, like, connect the dots for myself again. And then I'm gonna fill that in. Now, the direction of your brush stroke will subliminally tell your mind what shape something is. So if I pretend that I'm taking my brush and running it around and around, just like that fly tire is wrapping floss, red floss, around the shank of this fly tie. So by using curved strokes, I am telling the viewer that this is a round object, or a rounded object. And the more layers we do, the more you're gonna see this come to life. And I would put this paint on fairly thick. You'll get a brighter color that way. And once again, this doesn't have to be a perfectly straight line, because we're going to be going back over it. Okay. So now we're done with the red for now. I'm going to rinse my brush out. My apologies if my hands or my face go blurry from time to time. I have my camera focused on the canvas because that's the most important part. Okay, now we're going to go back to work on the wings and the tail. I'm going to take my thinnest brush and we're going to make up a gold, sort of tan color with brown. And there's a couple different browns that are happening that I doled out to you guys, or we doled out to you guys. This is the brown that I have. If you have the more reddish brown, then I would take some yellow and add it to that brown. At the end of the day, this doesn't really matter. I mean, the colors don't. And once again, this is your piece. If you want these to be bright blue lines, that's totally your call. So I did these though with the deep brown and then a lighter brown, and the same with these. Although I did have some fun and add a few other random colors in there. I used a little greenish blue and some red. So sometimes I move my canvas around to make it easier for my arm to move and get the effect that I want. And that's what I'm going to do with this. So I'm going to start with my brown. And I'm just going to pull, I'm going to lean my hand, and this goes over the hook. I'm going to just start pulling lines down kind of randomly. And don't worry about your pencil lines coming through, because once again, we're going to be doing layers. You want to make this a little bit watery because it'll make it flow more easily. And I'm gonna do, since I still have this color on my brush, I'm gonna do the same color up on the front part. And it'll take you a little while to get the right wateriness or viscosity of your brush so it'll really flow like this easily. I'm going to even throw a few lines over my black, shorter ones, and a little bit darker as well. Okay, I'm going to let you finish that and we'll take another break.
Okay, I'm back to remind you to pause the video and catch up with Wendy. When you're ready to move on, press play.
This is what we're working on now. So once again, the background was black. Then I got a medium brown, or that straight brown that you already have. And then I add a little yellow and white for this part. And yeah, that's all I did. And so I make the top part lighter, so you can see there's more light colors here than on the bottom because there's just more light coming up from above. All right, so I'm gonna mix up another brown again. And if you already have your brown, that's what you should already have your brown probably. Okay, so just so you know, if you ever have to mix a brown, like that looks a little too red once again, so you just add more green to it. All right. So I'm using this small flat brush. And I'm going to do like little V's kind of all over the top. And they're angling towards the top. Then I'm going to do the opposite on the bottom. Can you see that, or should I make it lighter, Sarah?
If you could move it a little towards us, it's not necessarily the light that's the problem, it's just that it's far away. I think that's a helpful description though, the V's. I didn't know that was how you did it.
Is that better? No, not really. I can't really get any closer.
I mean, that's better. Yeah, it's closer. And if you want to hold it up so before you get too much farther so they can kind of get the idea of the V, that'd be helpful. I'm going to mute myself again.
So I actually just did it lighter so you could see what I was doing. So see, I'm just kind of doing little angles. And I think I already said it, but I did make this lighter so you could see. And then in the middle, just kind of random spots, but see how that starts to give it some depth? Okay. And you know, you could just do that. Don't necessarily even have to have all three colors or all three shades. So I'm gonna do that on the front of it now. overlapping on over the red because I know that this is sticking further out than the red part. And the same thing, I'm going over the top of the black and the bottom of the black, so it extends into the white. You can also, like if there's a place you just don't like how your lines work, you can take your smallest pointy brush and come back in and clean it up a little bit with your black. But this is just a suggestion, you know, so of what's going on the fly. And I'm going to go back over to make my top part a little bit lighter. And you're probably seeing how important our layers are. Like you could just keep going over and over this. But the more layers you add, the more opaque your paint is. And if you're not familiar with what that word is, that means you can't see through it. So it's gonna make your colors, you know, pop more. Okay, I think we got the idea of that.
Hi again. Just a reminder to press pause on the YouTube video and catch up with Wendy. When you're ready to move on, feel free to use that blow dryer to dry your layer that you just finished. Thanks.
Okay, so let's get back to the body. I'm gonna add more layers of red. I'm putting this on pretty thick. It gives it more of a form, so it doesn't look so flat. wet washcloth to wipe my little goof off there. And now I'm kind of going a little bit up and over it, over the edge. This time I'm just grabbing some pure black and throwing it into my red for the bottom. And where these brush strokes are pretty thick, they're about the width of my paintbrush, I'm gonna go and wipe some of the brush off so I get my brush nice and pointy and pull up some of these brush strokes that are still wet to make them thinner.
Hi again. Just a pause between the videos, so feel free to catch up to Wendy. And when you're done with this layer, use your blow dryer to seal it. And then the next video, just as a heads up, is 20 minutes long. So you're adding more detail. You will be adding more detail to the fly and the fans, head and tail, and the hook. Good luck.
All right, everybody, I'm back. I hope your projects are going well and everything's had time to dry. We're gonna keep going with more detail in the body and in the wings and the tail. So I'm gonna still keep my thin brush going, and I'm gonna add some brown and a little black to make a nice dark brown. And add some more feathers, or I forget what they're made of. So you can see here we're is not opaque enough, so I'm just going to go back. My brush was too dry, so I need a little more water like we did before. And I'm going to do the same thing as before since I've already got that on my brush. I'm going to continue with that color. I keep dipping in the water each time to keep that paint fluid. I'm not pressing hard on my paintbrush. I'm really holding it stiff, so I just am using the tip. So in other words, I'm holding it like that, not smushing it down. Now I think I'm going to add a little orangey color to it. I'm mixing yellow. And I'm going to grab a little brown. See how I like that color. Yeah. So once again, orange, so yellow, red, and some of that brown. And a lot of water again. You can erase a little bit if you get it while it's still wet. Okay, now I'm going to add some white to that color so I get some lighter shades. And different colors are going to give it some depth. Basically, you have a dark, a middle, and a light. And I'm going to do the same thing to these guys. that for now. Actually, I lied. I'm gonna do a little highlight on my hook. So I'm gonna get some of my white back out. Just a little. And make a little highlight here. And I'm also gonna make this a little bit thinner. I think I made it too thick. So this is what I was talking about. Go from the outside in when you need to make any adjustments in your shapes. Too thick over here too. And one other thing I want to do is add some lights to the top of this part, just for some highlights and to give it a little bit more dimension. Kind of using a white with a little bit of that brown in it. A little highlight on this part as well. Gonna add a little reddish brown as well. So I took some red and I mixed it into that brown that I had, just to give it a little sparkle. Okay. Now I'm gonna come back and change the color of my background. I think since I did a gold background on the last one, I'm gonna do a really pale blue. So I'm gonna take a big pile of white. And a tiny bit of blue. I'm just thinking of the water. And remember the background of my other one, if you like that, is yellow, brown, and white. Sometimes I go like that to see how I like the color. So that is not quite dark enough. Still not quite dark enough. Then I'm going to take a tiny bit of yellow, see if I can make sort of a greenish blue.
trying to figure this color out. And if I even like it. Sort of mixing it right on my board. I don't know if I love that. Well, since I have already started this, I am going to continue with this color. So this just shows you how you can kind of make things up as you go along, and you can mix colors right on your board as you're going along. So in other words, I thought that this was too dark, so I grabbed a bunch of white and I'm mixing it right here on the canvas, so to speak. And you can wipe it off now that it's still wet. And after it dries, if I don't like it, I can still change the color and just paint over it. I just like doing things a little bit differently. I'm going to come back in with a smaller brush to get closer in. If I go over it a little bit, I'm not worried about it. I can fix it. This layer, I'm not using water like I did with the other one, because I want this to be more opaque, not so translucent like the first layer was. with thinking about this being near the water. Maybe even on the surface of the water. And now we're going to get to the border. So I'm taking my flat brush and I'm getting inside of these little brush strokes. So it's kind of a loud location where my studio is. So that's what you're kind of hearing, the background noise. I apologize for that. Do the same for this part.
Hi again, everybody. Just a reminder to pause the video while you catch up with Wendy and use your blow dryer to set your layer. The next video is another 20-minute long video, and the content is mostly the border and finalizing the background. So if you want to take a little longer to make any changes to the fly itself, I encourage you to do that now. But of course, you're welcome to continue on and stop whenever you're ready. Good luck. Hope you're having fun.
Hi there. So we're back, and I have completed my background, and I'm really liking it. I didn't at first because it was too blue. So I wanted to show you what I've done. I've actually discovered it because I haven't painted on one of these boards before. And so what I discovered was the more layers you put on, the richer the color, and it's not getting absorbed into the wood. So I've been playing with layers of this, and I wanted to show you what I did it, because you can do this technique over any background color that you chose. And then after I show you that, we're gonna get on to the border, okay? So I chose these three colors, and I actually put it on a clean plate. So I dipped my brush in a little bit of water, and I grabbed some white. As you remember, we picked the lighter color first, and a little tiny bit of blue. Like that's a little, right? And a little bit of yellow. Now this is gonna be really watered down because, as you notice, you can see the background through this. And by watering your paint down, it makes it more translucent. Excuse me. So I wanted to make this kind of glow a little bit. And I've also chosen to do all my brush strokes vertically. There's no right or wrong to that, but I just kind of like the look of that. kind of highlights the fly, I think. You can keep going on like this for who knows how long. There's always that magic time when you feel that your painting is complete. And once again, if you don't like what you just did, just wipe it off. You can even kind of pull it down a little bit with your wet washcloth. So I don't love right down there because this brush strokes are horizontal. So once again, I'm gonna grab some blue. Whoops, I did it backwards. And I'm gonna try to see if I can replicate that color that I did before. It's kind of a bluish green. And I like it a little bit lighter than my previous color. I'm gonna add some water, and I'm gonna go along like this, and then I'm gonna pull it up. And I'm actually gonna grab another brush, which you did not receive, but you might have a wide, soft brush like this somewhere around your house. If not, you can just grab one somewhere. Because this isn't gonna, you could keep adding these layers for a while. Because I chose to make this line going through this logo, I am just gonna kind of paint over that. This one, I used my board more horizontally, so I was able to do that. So it just kind of depends. I might wipe that off later, who knows. Okay, so let's see, we're almost done with that. And I can keep adding water, no more paint to my brush, to make that blend. A little more, and then I promise I'm going to stop fussing with this. Okay, so now we're going to get on to the border. I rinse my brushes out again. When you see me disappear, it's because I am stepping back to get a more objective view of my painting. And whenever you're doing a painting, that's really important, because when you're spending a long time on a piece and you're just right here in front of it, you can't really see it objectively. You're looking at all little tiny details. So make sure you get up, back away, and then come back, and you'll see it better. All right, so now the border. So what I'm gonna do is, now once again, here's my other border. I did this pretty randomly. So what I started to do was just make one consistent line all the way around, but I don't think I'm gonna do it that way this time. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come with this brush, which is about the width of these little sections that I chose to make, and I'm gonna use white, because we learned before, when you paint over white on this board, you're gonna give it a base coat, so your color is gonna be brighter. So I'm gonna take straight paint, no water, and I'm gonna find the center. And this doesn't have to be perfect, but this brush is just great for this. And I'm gonna do a square on each corner. I think in retrospect, I would have made my blue end right above this logo. Okay, now I'm gonna find the center. I still have that center line left over from before. So now I kind of have an anchor to start my other design. Okay, now I'm just gonna go to the middle of each section. Okay, I like that. And then I think I'll just go maybe like, so the good thing about this, doing it in white, is if you don't like what you've done, it's a lot easier to wipe off the white versus if you started right away with a black, let's say. You're gonna have a harder time getting rid of that. So that kind of evolved as I went around, but that's okay. So now I'm gonna just leave this white on my brush and I'm gonna start doing some colors. I think because this is the second time around and I learned from my first piece that I am gonna kind of make a pattern. So I'm just gonna choose different colors. I'm gonna start off with blue. And once again, no worries if it still has white paint in it. So I'm gonna go down the middle of that. I'm gonna go right in the middle of that square. Once again, this brush is so great because it's giving you a straight edge right away because it has a straight edge. Okay, now I'm going to grab some green, and once again, I'm not even going to bother wiping my brush off. little bit wet, no biggie. Because once again, we're probably going to do another layer on this. Okay, now let's go for some yellow. I did wipe my brush off for that one. It really helps to have the white under the yellow. I'm actually going to mix a little bit of white into this yellow because it'll make it stand out better. Okay, let's do some orange, reddish orange. So I'm going to take some yellow and I kind of got that color going. And I'm picking colors so this all kind of coordinates a bit, I suppose. This orangey red is connecting your eye to the red body of the fly. I'm going to grab a little red and kind of put it wherever it feels right to put it. Okay. Now I'm going to take brown. I'm going to take this brown and I'm going to grab some black because I kind of want to make it darker. And if by any chance you've run out of brown, green and red make brown. And I can show you right there. So if I take some red, I throw some green into it. Now, if it's too red, that means you need more green. So this is a nice darker green, a little more reddish. If I wanted a little more orangish, a little warmer of a brown, I can add some yellow to it. That's a nice brown. So remember, if you run out of any colors, you can make every color from primary colors. So blue, red, yellow are primaries. So you can always mix any other colors if you run out. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is take that flat brush that I just had and grab some paint, and I'm gonna go along that line. I'm gonna come back with a thinner brush for that one. Doesn't have to all be the exact brown either. If your paint starts to get a little dry, which mine is, you can take a water bottle and just spray it a little bit, and that'll resaturate it a little. Okay, let's see, so I'm gonna go. Oops. Okay, so I am all finished with mine, excuse me, and I made some changes since I last showed it to you. I completed the background and the border. I made some changes as far as the color choices that I made. It was too strong, the orange was too bright, so I just covered it up. And I feel like it's pretty much done. Of course, I could keep going, and this video could last a week. Anyway, I hope you had a wonderful time painting, and I look forward to painting with you again, and many thanks to Belgrade Library. Take care.
Hi, now you have a completed painting, or you will as soon as you stop fussing with it, which, as Wendy said, could take a long time. Feel free to reach out to Wendy with photos of your work and questions to her email, paint@wendymarquis.com, or stop by her studio if you're local. It's on Main Street in Belgrade in the old bank building on the corner of Main and Broadway, right across from the Chamber. Currently open Wednesday through Saturday from noon to 6 p.m. I hope you all really enjoyed painting with Wendy. I think she's so fun, and I always learn something from her classes and from her walkthroughs. And I hope you are able to participate in other upcoming libraries, either via Zoom or just going through our YouTube channel and watching some of our already recorded events. And a special thanks again to Kenyon Noble and to Montana Reclaimed Lumber for generously sponsoring this event. And we will see you next time. Thanks.